Describe it in just, briefly what your story is in terms of how you came to the faith. Why are you a Christian?
Well, I grew up in a Christian home, but I definitely strayed away for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And it was more of the aspect of I went into a different route and started doing a lot of darker things from witchcraft and all that. And then I ended up basically having 12 demons within my head for 3 years.
That's wild.
And there's a whole chunk of my life, a year or so, that I don't remember anything that happened.
Wow.
So recently I had the idea of interviewing Christians when the opportunity arises to ask them about the gospel, what they think the gospel is, how we should convey the message. And I had a really neat opportunity today. It kind of just popped up and I just threw it out there to my barber, Dave. Shout out to Dave at the Reformed Barber here in Colorado Springs. And I said, hey man, would it be cool if I did an interview of Luke, his brand new guy he's training today? I'm doing this new series on just interviewing Christians about the gospel. And I thought it'd be really cool just to meet him for the first time and hear his story. And then maybe, you never know, in the future, it might open up to more opportunities to do the same. The barbershop is great because you really have a captive audience. And this was an amazing conversation because not only did I get to hear Luke's story and what his thoughts are about the gospel, but another gentleman, I believe his name is Mark, another client of the Reformed Barbers, he was listening into our conversation and he was intrigued and then started asking me a bunch of questions. And you can see in this interview where that conversation turns. It's really neat because in a way, the very things that I was hoping to share about the gospel just naturally came out as an opportunity during this conversation. So awesome, guys. This is a really neat way to just show and demonstrate that you can have conversations just like this with people cutting your hair or any situation really, if you think about it. And I love Luke's example of the elevator pitch opportunity. If you only had 30 seconds to share the gospel, what would that look like? Let's dive in and listen more about Luke's story and let's hear how things unfolded.
So you just started cutting hair?
Yeah, I graduated somewhat recently.
Cool.
Took me a little bit to pass the second test for my boards, which is the written. Hands-on is my stronger suit.
So I shouldn't be as concerned?
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you could definitely ask my teachers. I'm a visual learner, hands-on learner.
Yeah, me too, bro.
So when it comes to written stuff, not very good.
Yeah.
But I can watch a video and replicate it pretty simple.
That's awesome. Why did you decide to get into cutting hair?
I just actually wanted to go out and give homeless people a haircut.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I feel like I could do it more than just going out.
Yeah.
I also want them to know that I'm licensed, so they're not very concerned about it.
Tripping on you?
Yeah. But it's kind of that situation where I feel like most of them really don't care.
Yeah.
But it just kind of gives them, I feel more hey, confidence that this guy passed school and wants to give me a haircut? No way.
That's awesome.
Stuff like that.
How'd you connect with Dave?
He knows a person that it's basically, I went to their wedding and it turns out he was there and I just didn't know about it.
That's cool.
So he's like a friend of a friend.
That's cool. Yeah, because I've been asking Dave for a while, bro, you got to get some more fools in here, dude. Do they help you out? More people, man. There's a good opportunity here for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool.
It just is kind of crazy how it worked out,
Yeah.
I wasn't really looking and then...
Yeah. It's kind of how it works sometimes.
Yeah, pretty much. It was definitely to me at least a God thing with how things played out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool how sometimes those opportunities just come up and you're like, I wasn't even looking for it, and then bam, it's like, oh wow. And it's just really cool, like how things line up like that, especially when it's something that you're not even really trying, like you're just ends up happening to work out, and then it ends up turning out to be a huge blessing in your life.
Yeah.
That's how I got this barbershop. I wasn't planning to buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just kind of presented itself.
Just it ended up falling in your lap, and
Yeah, pretty much.
and it was probably like a step of faith for you, where you're like, man, should I do this? Should I really step out? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of discerning during that period.
Oh yeah, bro.
So should I do this?
So yeah, like I was sharing with you, kind of the purpose of the interview is with our channel, we're looking at, like, I've been thinking about this for a long time. I'm really passionate about evangelism and reaching the lost. But what I notice is that, like, Christians really struggle. Like, I don't know, maybe even particularly today, they struggle with being able to articulate the gospel in clear terms, and not just in clear terms, but in just normal conversation. Like you were saying earlier, what was that system you were talking about? Like
The elevator system.
elevator, yeah. So
It's like you're in an elevator. This could be a physical elevator or a hypothetical. It's like most
Yeah.
people don't got time to hear what you have to say.
That's
so
true.
how long are you in an elevator? Probably about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And so you do a 30-second quick little thing of like,
Yeah.
kind of the mindset of like, what happens if like God puts it on your heart to talk to this person and they don't have time to hear what you have to say?
Yeah.
And then for some reason they end up, getting into a car accident.
Oh, yeah.
And you were like the one chance, but you were just too scared to tell them that, and that could have changed their life and
They're
outcome.
eternal.
Yeah, and so it's like a morbid sense, kind of, but it's just the real truth. It's like you don't know when these people, it's their last second on this world.
Sure.
And so it's like, kind of think of it as like, what if you're like the last chance and God put him on your heart to know him and learn who he is, and not what the world says he is, but more like
Maybe you want some weight.
what God is, not what the world says he is.
Any other part?
So one thing that I would ask, it's like I'm not trying to sit here and correct anybody's theology today, but I would say is that if God desired to save someone, right? Like
Yeah.
if Jesus went with the intention to the cross to save the people who are lost,
Yeah.
that do you believe that God will save all those who he intends to save? Do you think that one drop of blood that was shed on the cross will go to waste?
I don't think so, but it's
Right.
also the aspect of like free will. It's like it's your choice to
Yeah.
be willing to do that leap of faith and believe in that.
So do you think that when we evangelize, when we're sharing the good news of the gospel, right, using that elevator example, because like you were saying, it creates like a sense of urgency in our minds where it's like, wow, if I don't share this with this person, there's a possibility that they may never hear, they could get into that car accident and enter into eternity, right?
Yeah, like I'm not saying that that's like gonna happen. It's more
Sure.
of the aspect of like thinking of the aspect of like, what if? What if
Sure.
that was it? What if that was the moment and you just didn't listen to God? But that's not entirely true. It just helps people kind of get out of that headspace of like, what if they like yell at me?
I see.
Or what if they think differently of me?
Overcoming
Yeah, it just
the
kind
fear
of
of man.
Yeah, it gets you to the point where you're like, what do I have to lose? I'll probably never see him again. Or
Sure.
what if this is like their last day on earth? Or like, you never know, and it's kind of worth the risk at the end of the day.
So when you think about like what would you share with that person if you were to use that 30-second example? Like who is Jesus? I guess what did he accomplish? And who is Jesus now?
Yeah, I would probably go with just like the angle of being like, I know the world has probably said some things about a man that either you believe in or you don't believe in, but this is what I think, this is who I think he is.
Yeah.
And I would like to tell you about him. And he was a man who was God, lived a perfect life, and did so many miraculous things through his life, and died a brutal death, not because he deserved it. It was because we deserved that death. We deserved to go to hell and all that. But God doesn't want us to go to hell. He wants us to choose him and be with him. And there was no other option but Jesus. And so that shows that God loves us and he's willing to die for us.
Yeah.
And it's like if you had a friend that would take a bullet for you.
Yeah.
Like, you would want to do everything you can to, like, hey, I owe you. Like, you risked your life for me.
Yeah.
And you would feel like, I need to do something for him. And so it's like, but there's nothing that can compare to doing that kind of thing. So it's like the fact that Jesus didn't ask us to, like, start a revolution or, like, go bomb places or do something insane. He just asked, I just want to have a relationship with you in return. I want you to believe in me. I want you to pray to me. I want you to learn about me in return. And it's like, it's such a simple price in comparison to a horrific death.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's hard to believe the fact that that's all Jesus wants in return is for us to follow him and learn from him and have that relationship with him. And so that's just like my thought process on it.
Yeah. And do you think that so in if you were to be talking to this person right on the elevator, right? What if they're not convinced of what you just said? What would you say? Like, so like, they come back with something along the lines of, yeah, I've heard of Jesus, and you say that he is God, but I don't believe that. I think he was just a good person, that he did some great stuff, and he had a reputation that is obviously through his good works is extended to today. The good things, like he would be no different from any other, great, wise sage that has kind of helped people along the way to live a good life. But I don't think that his death on the cross, absolved me of my sins before a holy God. What would you say?
I'd say if they're willing to have that conversation, I would definitely ask them, be like, okay, so what do you believe? Like, do you just, like, is he a good guy? Like, do you believe that there is a God, but Jesus was not the Son of God? And it just kind of varies on what they ask.
Why do you think that it was important that Jesus is God?
Because that's like one of the key components of Christianity. It's like the founding statement of, like, yeah, the Old Testament and all that is important, but like Jesus did say there's only one way to the Father, and it's through me. And so, and there's been multiple cases, and there's actually a book called A Case for Christ where an atheist tries to prove that one fact, that Jesus died and did not come back, because that's the only way you can prove that Christianity is not true. And he did all of this research, did all of these informations, went from psychological to medical to every possible angle, called in a ton of different favors from different people that were very well known, PhDs of different areas of academics. And he ended up making a full case in proving that Jesus was God, and he couldn't deny it. He couldn't prove it wrong.
So what happens if, like, for example, in that, you're talking about Lee Strobel, The Case for Christ.
Yeah.
What happens in the situation where someone denies that proof? Like, they reject it, they don't accept it, even though, let's say, he believes that he has sufficient evidence. What happens when this person who rejects the gospel, they reject all that? What would you say to that person?
I would just tell them, being like, yeah, you're welcome to think whatever you think, believe whatever you believe, but I highly recommend, what do you got to lose at the end of the day of looking through something? It's like, what do you genuinely, like, it's like, okay, let's say you're an atheist, and you're right, we died, there's nothing. I got nothing to lose. But then if you die, and I'm right, then was it really worth it at the end of the day?
Sure.
It's like, was it worth, saying that there is no God when there truly is a God?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't really care if I'm right in a conversation with somebody.
Sure.
It's like, I know the truth, and if they're not ready to hear it, I know God will send more people to keep sharing until they're willing to have their heart opened up to the...
So let me challenge you with this. How is it that you believe, like you seem pretty sincere, right? Mm-hmm. That you know the truth. Like, how is it that you are confident that you know the truth?
I've seen and experienced too much to not believe in it.
So your basic experience. Like, so tell me, give me like describe it in just, briefly what your story is in terms of how you came to the faith. Why are you a Christian?
Well, I grew up in a Christian home, but I definitely strayed away for a while. Mm-hmm. And it was more of the aspect of I went into a different route and started doing a lot of darker things from witchcraft and all that. And then I ended up basically having 12 demons live in my head.
Dude.
For 3 years.
That's wild.
And there's a whole chunk of my life, a year or so, that I don't remember anything that happened.
Wow. Wow, that's interesting story.
It kind of hit a point where you hit a point where everything is so hopeless and so dark.
Yeah.
And I was basically gaslit into believing that there was nothing wrong with me.
Okay.
By 12 demons. It was an experience, but I hit a point of where God really just had to, let me hit a point of rock bottom. And I like to think that, like, what's at the bottom is the rock, and that is Jesus. It's just, you just don't realize it until you hit that point of, like, who pulled you out, who caught you at the bottom. If there's no rock at the bottom, you would fall forever.
Well, so you don't have to share details, but how feel free to go as detailed as you want, but how did you know, like, how are you able to discern that it was not only demonic oppression, and it sounds like maybe possession, but how do you know that it was 12? Like, how can you decipher that?
I just, like, it was more God kind of just showing me, because it was a little bit after I got saved, which was June 26, 2022.
Okay, wow. So you're fairly new.
Yeah, and I felt like, hey, what if I just, like, was believing this and it wasn't actually true?
Yeah.
And I started questioning my own testimony and my own experiences as they weren't true.
Yeah.
And so I hit the point of being like, God, what if I'm not completely accurate? What if I just made this up in my head?
Yeah.
What if I'm more crazy than anything?
Wow.
And God was like, you're not. And I'm like, well, I don't know about that. And he's like, well, you had 12 demons in your head. And so God revealed to me a more finite detail that how would I know?
So what was it like in that conversion experience? Was it a lot like, you read in the Gospels where they were cast out of you, or like how did that happen? Like what was the transformation? How did that change?
I basically ended up hitting a point where there was no benefit.
Okay.
It was just pain and suffering and pain. It was horrible.
Okay.
And so I finally hit the point where I was coherent enough to just be like, all right, if there is a God, I can't do this anymore. I want out.
So you cried out.
I ended up just crying out to God and alone in a car. And I just basically went from, like, it was basically like I had a ton of stuff over in my head to the point where I ended up just having that moment of, like, being saved and having those things taken out.
Interesting.
Where it just got really quiet.
Wow.
It was like there was so much noise, so much darkness, and it just was non-stop.
Yeah.
Looking good, my friend. Looking good. We almost made it. The tree looks good. We just need trimmers. Can you see your trimmers real quick?
Which ones?
You could just use these and these ones.
Yeah.
I'll just have you use these, like, indefinitely. So I
Yeah.
prefer the trimmers do that. So I'm just gonna catch you up. Sounds like you guys are having an awesome conversation, man.
Yeah.
It's good stuff, man.
Yeah, it gave me a good lead in to ask my client. I was like, hey, you had some background?
It's
Art
cool.
right here is a brother too. So.
Obviously, I walked in and I was listening. I was like, oh, this sounds like a good conversation.
We're so I have a YouTube channel that's about like equipping and evangelism, and I decided to put Luke on the spot today and ask him a question. So I'm interviewing a bunch of people just about their perspective on what they believe sharing the gospel is, what is evangelism, what their experience is, like how they came to the faith, you know. And what I want to demonstrate is there's commonalities among all people across all denominations, you know, but they have a common theme, you know, that they were called by the Lord and called through His Word, called through life experiences, you know, what we call the ordinary means, right? That the Lord uses our life circumstances. But it's usually specific. I like what Peter says in 1 Peter, that we were born again by the open declaration of His Word, right? The gospel that you've heard, you know, you were born again as a result of it. 1 Peter.
I just was doing the technical
When you were saying, what would you do if someone rejected?
I'm just gonna
Yeah.
put over
What would you say to someone
Well,
that said,
actually,
for me, I look at it this way. If I've shared the gospel, the Bible does say that sometimes that there's come to the point where you got to dust your.
Yeah.
But
I'm sorry,
not that I would give up on the person
I
and
was
pray for
like,
them.
spray?
I guess
But
they
I know
both
the word
spray,
God
yeah.
They both
says
spray bottles. Just varies on which
we're not to
spray.
argue with someone who's, you know,
Pass me your.
if they're rejecting it, they're
phone
going to
and
reject it. You
shoes.
just need to pray for them.
Yeah.
It's accurate. Or,
Yeah, no. So in terms of proof, the reason why I asked the question about proofs,
From now on, I think
I believe people are committed to worldviews.
Just do the vertical.
And so, like, you have texts like 1 Corinthians where it talks about that, you know, they're blind, they're spiritually discerned.
Mostly.
Ephesians 2 says that we're dead in our trespasses and sins.
Significantly longer.
There are texts that say that we have been blinded by the God of this world. We've been taken captive, like in 1 Timothy it says that we've been taken captive by the enemy to do his will. Like that we're a slave to sin and trespasses. You know, Romans chapter 1 says, you know, that we suppress the truth in our unrighteousness. And I think that's an important text because what does it mean that we suppress the truth? Well, to put it another way, essentially what Paul's saying is that we love our sin so much that we'd rather turn away from the truth and live a life of absurdity, worshiping ourselves or worshiping the created order instead of the Creator, right? So we prefer absurdity over the truth. And Paul says it's so that people deny the existence of God, for example, right? And Paul says the truth is so abundant that it's undeniable.
it's undeniable, as you're saying, that there's suppression of that.
Right. And I believe that's a worldview problem. It's a lens by which people interpret reality. And so they're so committed to their worldview, their beliefs, that no matter how much proof that you offer to them, they're going to reject it outright no matter what. It's truly, their eyes must be opened, their heart must be changed, they must be born again in order to see the reality that Christ is Lord, right? That He is who He says He is. And Jesus says Himself, a good example is the story of the rich man and Lazarus. You know, the rich man's crying out saying, man, tell my family of this horrible place. And Jesus, says it very clearly, it wouldn't matter if they rose again from the dead. They have the prophets, they have the law, they have everybody telling them that this is a reality. And even if someone were to rise again from the dead, they still wouldn't believe. If you think about like Matthew 28, right before the Great Commission, Jesus, gives the Great Commission.
Yep.
It's wild, bro. Like, here's the resurrected Lord. And it said, and some doubted. Like, here He is, like ready to give the Great Commission. He's bearing the marks of the cross.
Well, if I'm correct, I think back in those, even the Pharisees and stuff, were trying to spread the
Yeah.
hey, it's not.
Right.
whatever they're saying.
They were paying people off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you think about like, proof,
I think
proof is abundant. to the point where it's undeniable.
Kind of some curvature on the
There's-
head, more so going in.
Yeah.
It's almost a different angle. You see that?
Yeah, so we gotta.
So think about this. Paul
Counteract it by like.
Paul
not
picks
going
up the idea in
as
Psalm
much,
19,
and then
right?
tilts it out.
In Romans 1,
So I guess
where he says,
the
we
general
suppress the
rule of,
truth and
like,
unrighteousness.
lifting off
For
of
in the
the-
created order itself,
got the general
it demonstrates
rule
the
of
existence
most
of God as divine power. He's
compensate for
eternality,
this, and,
all those things, right? And it says, to the extent where they're without an excuse. And the term that he uses in the Greek is unapologetus, that they're not, they're without a
This
defense.
part, instead of going in,
So their
going
unbelief
like
is
that,
indefensible.
Which is why it's cut too short.
And he picks up on the concept of
then
Psalm
maybe
19,
go this
where
way
it says
more.
that the created order is constantly pouring forth knowledge to the glory of God
So,
about the existence of God,
Imagine if you were able to pick this hair.
right? And so think about this, like you can look around and
Short
essentially
hair for the guide.
the created order is telling you you have a creator, you are part of the created order, so you yourself is made in God's image.
So imagine if
You
had
looking in the
shears, you'd
mirror
cut it basically like this,
demonstrates
right?
that reality every
I
day.
wouldn't want it cut very much in, 'cause you're
Like
gonna go
you know,
onto this
people say,
territory. It's
for
really
example,
just this section
prove the
that would
existence
blend
of God to me,
in. Okay,
right?
so like you can almost
And your
like,
response should be,
go in,
when was the last time you looked in the
pick that
mirror?
up, right? Less.
And then what do you mean by
can
that?
always just start with less, see how it works,
Well,
and then
ev-
go a little bit more.
every time you look in the
Do that
mirror,
all around. Less is more. Don't go
you being a part of that creation, right? We are the pinnacle of the created order, humanity made in God's image, right? As the pinnacle of God's created order, we, in a sense, proclaim to ourselves that we're made in God's image. And what do I mean by that? Is that it's an open declaration of the knowledge of God. One being that we care about the truth. We care about doing what's right in reality. And I'm not saying all people, but the law of God is written on our heart. It says that in Romans 2, right? That, or is it Romans 4? It's in Romans. It says the law that even the Gentiles know. Without having the law, the Gentiles do what's right. Like they know in their heart of hearts, meaning that, think of this, it's so inescapable that we've been made in God's image that we have to destroy ourselves in order to run away from it. So the proof, talking about proofs, in my humble opinion, is unhelpful with an unbeliever because they have all the proof that they would ever need. So what you need to deal with is the suppression of the truth, not give them.
You don't always have to go up.
You see what I'm saying?
Always like go in higher.
Yeah, I mean, think about that. How powerful is that when you say to someone, you know God, you know your Creator. Matter of fact, it's so abundantly evident to you
I like what you're doing.
that you have to embrace absurdity
It's like if you
to avoid that reality.
right
It's
there.
amazing because
You're creating weight up here, and this needs to be.
group of guys, me and the group of guys,
Whereas
we're,
if
we're all
you
across the
almost
country.
go with the angle
Started
of
a
the
Bible
cut
study
you
on the
want.
boards.
Uh-huh.
Right?
And,
Like if you
the
imagine
biggest
the
thing about
hair
how
going in, so
how
you
to
go in there,
evangelize, how to
and you do that, and you cut
Cool.
off here.
a whole different
You're not only going to
perspective
be blending,
to our next Bible. I'm gonna
The bottom.
inside.
you're
Never
going
thought
to
about
be blending
this.
up here.
It's cool.
Right?
We're
Now,
doing,
it's a mistake if you did this. Okay. Go ahead.
so my,
So
the YouTube
it's
channel,
almost like,
it's called Civil Circus.
you know, that's creating weight. It's a good technique,
Civil circus?
especially
Uh-huh.
for the size. But up here,
And it's a play on
it's
words.
better to pull it out, you know?
But it's built on the idea of that we're fools for Christ.
Yeah.
But if you know, like the,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there?
Yeah.
so the fool,
You could even do more than that. No, that's
the
perfect. Just try it.
like the
See what
court
happens.
jester,
See how you change the word.
goes back as far as early
Just a little
human
bit,
memory,
not much, right?
where they were
And
called
you can always use your face as a guy from the hair. That
they were called truth tellers.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so our channel is Civil Circus,
Try not to
the
move
King's
hand
Truth
as
Teller
soon as you get
Society.
there, keep that hand perfectly still to get that. Yep. Perfect.
Yeah, and so what the goal of the channel is to help people, like just start a conversation and it to be really a community that contributes to outreach to our cities, right? Evangelistic efforts. And I have an entire curriculum built, like, but our next series is built on
You keep note on time, okay?
Yeah.
It would be very helpful for me just because I'm running behind. If you could knock that out and then do the neck shave, and then call me when you're done, and I'll fix anything off, just so we're in time for your 12 o'clock, okay?
Okay.
So you got about 15 minutes.
Okay.
He's got it, bro. I believe in Luke, dude. But if you think about like what I'm saying, what it should do is build confidence in you and want you to more press into a better understanding of the word and like what it means to actually be a Christian. That you really are a representative of the King, right? The good news is saying, hey, look, the King lives. He's seated on his throne. He's in charge, and he's commissioned us by virtue of being given authority over heaven and earth to go out and proclaim who he is. Like you're telling people, Jesus is more than, our buddy. Jesus is more than even a personal savior. Jesus is the King, and he reigns, and what we're really doing is advancing his crown rights throughout the entire world. And we're saying, hey, look, like, you're going to have to bow the knee, whether you like that or not, whether you believe that or not. One day, whether you do it now in humility and acknowledge him as Lord, one day you'll have to do that anyway.
That's true.
And you're either going to face him in the bosom of his grace, where you face the living God and you're redeemed according to his mercy and grace, or you're going to face him in judgment. One way or the other, you're going to face the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, when we say about like, how does that practically play out in the world? Like, I'm convinced that people are trying to, it goes all the way back to the garden, and it's this simple. People are trying to redefine shalom or define shalom for themselves. And what do I mean by that? The blessed life, right? They're saying, because the Hebrew term shalom is peace, wholeness, unity, perfect, it's complementary, it's functioning in its proper order, has a lot of meaning. But really the blessed life is when everything is right with your Creator, then it'll bring life to your mental state, it'll bring life to your spiritual reality, it'll bring life in relationships, and it'll bring life into the created order. Everything will be restored and made right in its proper order. Everything will be functioning properly. People who try to define shalom or the blessed life on their own, in their own terms, fall into the same trap that we did in the garden in Adam and Eve. They decided, you know what, God, I know you said don't eat the fruit, but I'm going to make up my decision on my own, and I'm going to come up with my own idea of what the knowledge of good and evil should be. I'll determine that for myself. And that's really all people are doing. And so what you're pointing people to is, look, like, if you think it's okay to define good and evil on your own, well, if everyone did that, what would society look like?
Yeah.
It'd be a train wreck, right? It'd be and what are we dealing with today?
Chaos.
You see and where does that chaos come from? It's people defining good and evil on their own terms. They think that they have the divine prerogative to determine what good and evil is on their own. And they're saying, no, this is what the blessed life looks like, right? And not realizing, one, we're in a battle. There's a real war. Luke was talking about it earlier about like demonic influence and possession and oppression. If you think about it, Paul ends the book of Ephesians with that very thing, saying, look, we don't battle against flesh and blood, but principalities, forces of darkness, rulers of this day and age. That there's a real battle out there for, our souls, and also for rulership. So if we were appointed to be rulers, to take dominion over God's created order, and then we just give that away to this demonic realm.
It's crazy. I used to think about that.
Right?
Yeah.
Think about what happens. Like they get to run everything, and they run roughshod over everything. And basically people make themselves to be God. Well, that's exactly what Paul says in Romans 1. They worship the creature rather than the creator. And as a result of it, it turns society and the world into total chaos and anarchy. Death. It brings death to society. It brings death to relationships. And so the gospel is more than just you can be saved and be delivered from God's judgment. The gospel is you can be made right with your Creator. Things can be set right not only in your mind, that you'll be made a new creation in Christ Jesus, having His mind, right? The mind of Christ. The Spirit of God will fill you and indwell you, give you a new heart, make you a new creature. So psychologically, and I'm sure that's what you're talking about, Luke, right? You're experiencing this difference, this change, this transformation when you were delivered from this possession or oppression, and it's changed who you are. And that in turn changes your life. It changes your relationships. It changes how you look at stewardship in the created order. It changes how you think society ought to be run, you know.
That's true.
Right? It just blooms, it branches out into all this beautiful like restoration. Think about what Paul says in Colossians chapter 1. He says that Jesus, who is the head of all things, it's all his. He everything has been made for him, to him, through him, by him, right? But that he's redeeming all things by the blood of his cross.
Amen.
Everything's being redeemed. And so it's not just, you know, a private salvation. It's much more than that. It's amazing, bro. Like, you know, it transforms your family life.
I'll tell you one thing.
Yeah.
Since I was 10 years old, I accepted Christ and stuff, but you don't, I would say like, developing your own relationship is one thing compared to just doing what your parents go to church.
Right.
And went to the military, kind of not walked away, but now was mediocre.
Yeah.
And then I would say in the last 10 years is when I really got strong for Christ. And it does change your life because I can tell you, me and my wife were going through hard times.
Yeah, I bet.
It wasn't because she was doing anything wrong. I just was so selfish person. I was,
right.
And everything. And when I remember one day, and it was very humbling because you just have to think about it as a man. Your immediate objective is not to like, you want to stand firm and you want to be like, I'm the man, whatever. And then I got down in my office and I was on my knees crying and praying and asking the Lord to, I surrender all to you.
Yeah.
From that point on, I mean, you know, our relationship now 10 years later is amazing.
It's so cool, bro.
Yeah.
I love hearing that. That's awesome, man.
But it's
like
about surrendering. It's not,
same here. Like, you know, think about it. If you're the biblical head, whether you like it or not, men are the biblical head of their homes. If you can take out the spiritual leader in the home, so goes the family, right? And like, if you think about like Paul, that's the order in Ephesians 5 and 6, right? He talks about the man being the head of the home, as Christ is the church, that he's to wash his wife with the water of the word, to nourish her, right? To love her, right? And then it says, kids, right? You know, honor your mother and father, if it'll be good with you in the land. If the home life gets destroyed, and by the way, that's how the 10 Commandments are structured. It starts with our relationship with God. It talks about rest and our trust and provision with the Sabbath. And it goes what? Right? To honor mother and father. And then the second table is all about how we interact with one another. We shouldn't be lying. You know, we shouldn't be stealing. We shouldn't be murdering one another and coveting one another. But that has to be translated through the home.
Yeah.
So goes the house, so goes society, right? I mean, if you can think about it, look at what we're battling with right now that is a direct affront and attack to the house.
It is.
And if you could take men out and men stop being spiritual leaders, what happens to society?
Yeah.
And it's pretty neat, like to hear your transformation.
Oh, but yeah, what I've noticed too in those years is that I gave that up, and that's the Lord. You take control, and He made everything successful.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I guess successful in the eyes of the Lord, I would say, because family life, career life, everything.
Yeah.
Fell into place.
Right. Well, think about like Psalm 1. It talks about blessed is the man, right? Who what? Is like a tree planted by the water, never cease from yielding fruit, like in season and out. Like you're experiencing the life of like, now I'm planted, like I'm actually being watered.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of just dry and sucked up and fruitless.
There is a complete difference, I agree with you.
That's amazing, bro. I love hearing that. That's the kind of stuff that we really want to, I was telling, you got to talk David into letting me do this. Dude, just spend a day here with the camera and interview people all day.
That's the kind of stuff you want to hear, right?
This is it, bro.
Yeah.
Like people, I'm telling you, man, people need to be encouraged.
Yeah, amen, bro.
They need to hear like the power of the gospel and what, not just like, hey, you need to be saved from your sins. Yes, that's obviously critical, but it's Christ reigns on the throne and He transforms our lives, and He really makes us.
Doing, right?
He makes us into new creations, and He not only impacts our personal lives, but our family lives and society.
Yeah.
And he's doing that today.
Yeah.
And it's a miraculous work.
Amen.
Well, I've been just noticing too, and it's amazing because I guess some people in my life look at me as something you can go to. But after the Kirk incident, I had a couple of people contact me. One of them was my old employee. And saying, hey, I walked away from God and stuff, and I really, I'm feeling the Lord tugging my heart. And so he's been walking and doing something for 10 years.
Wow.
And, came back and now he's excited and stuff. And
Dude, I love that.
so,
That's so encouraging.
I do no work, I know, in this,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like you said, there's a clear battle.
There is a battle, man. And that's where the big part of what we want to develop is a community that is encouraging one another and pressing one another to go out, like to actually be a force of good, a force of truth, and to do it boldly.
Yeah, that's probably the one struggle I think most men have.
Yeah.
Is being able, because I'm not gonna say everyone, but there's probably that fear of being looked at like
Yeah.
a freak or whatever.
Right.
But to me, it's like, okay.
But we will be. Christ promised that.
Yeah.
What's wild, bro, is when you really start to grasp, like, wait a minute.
Yes. On the face to clean out the air, like let it sit on the face for a few seconds, and then just kind of clean it off. Then yes, around the ears, and then coming from the back like this, and then I usually wipe off some hair off the top.
Same towel for all of it?
Same towel, yes.
So
But
face,
like,
then top, and
yep, yep.
Think about it. If Jesus is Paul says he's the treasure of all wisdom and knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and knowledge. That Jesus said is if we trust his word and we're his disciples, that we can know the truth and the truth will set us free.
I'm gonna put this on.
It's good, man. Yeah.
I just didn't want you to.
Yeah, dude, you're good, bro. I still talk through this towel. I'll be like John Bunyan and preaching through the wall, bro.
Oh yeah. I knew a guy who was arrested in jail in Malaysia. And it was just really funny because he was the scariest guy. They thought he was the biggest guy in the whole prison because they are all believing things that they don't want to hear what he has to say. And so he was known as the biggest guy in the whole prison because if you talk to him, or they were told to plug their ears because he'll tell you about Jesus.
That's funny.
So everyone in there feared him.
That's hilarious.
No one messed with him. They just left him alone for that reasoning, which
That's
is
so funny.
really funny.
So, Luke, how's your life been different since 2022?
It's definitely like some people believe when you get saved, everything's going to turn into like rainbows and sunshine and fairy dust. But that's not entirely the truth.
It's definitely not the truth.
I like
Promise trials and tribulations.
Yeah, and also
persecution.
it's like you're doing life. Everyone can agree life is hard.
Yeah.
But it's like, are you wanting to do life where you're doing it all by yourself, alone in the dark, trying to figure out how to make ends meet, or do you want to have something that's bigger than you, that knows every single outcome that was going to happen from the beginning to the end, and is going to help you through it, and cares about you, and wants you to thrive and not die in the process of trying to survive? And so it's like going to a grocery store as a little kid, and you're holding onto your parents' hand, trying not to get lost in the grocery store. And then it's like, would you rather be a kid that's lost in the grocery store without a parent, or do you want to be a kid in the grocery store with your parent to know what you're supposed to do and where you're supposed to go?
Yeah. You gotta
So
commit.
it's like, I prefer life with a God than without one.
Well, life, there is no life apart from Christ.
Yeah.
There is no life apart from Christ. Yeah.
I've experienced life without God. I don't want to experience it ever again.
Well, think about it. He's the life giver, and if you divorce yourself from the life giver, you'll die. And that's
Yeah.
that's the reality of what sin is. Sin is a divorce
definitely.
of life. It's a separation of the life from the life giver.
What do you got going on with it?
Oh, I was just brushing the hair out of this.
Do me a favor and sleep really quick.
Okay. You can come check my work.
Shoot. Yeah, bro, good back-to-back conversations.
That's fun.
Yeah.
know if anything can be touched up or anything like that.
Looks good, bro. Yeah.
Back sides look good.
Yeah. Looks great.
Alrighty. Let me take that from you.